Hey, family. This is Che Willis coming back with another episode of Wealth is a Journey podcast. Guys, this is episode 140. 140 weeks of consistency, 140 weeks of getting it done. As always, we outside. Guys, before we get started, I always want to say thank you to the listeners, watchers, and subscribers. Anybody who has given an encouraging word, anybody who has left a comment or let me know something that I could be either doing better or just encouraging me, saying, hey, keep going. That is a huge deal because in this podcasting space, it is not for the weak at heart. There are times where you get down on yourself. There are times that you like, why am I doing this? But I know that there's a purpose for this podcast specifically to exist. Um, we're getting more opportunities to speak. I feel like I say this every week, but I got 2 calls just this week alone saying that actually 3. I got 3 calls this week saying, "Hey, we want you to come in and speak to this audience and we're going to pay you." That is amazing, man. From going from an introvert, not wanting to talk in front of people, being afraid to talk on Zoom, now being open to not just talk on Zoom, but also to talk in front of an audience is amazing. My church had me speak there a couple months ago, and that was over 1,000 people. So that is a huge deal from going from not wanting to speak on Zoom calls to now speaking in front of thousands of people. You know what I'm saying? We outside, man. But anyway, if you are a first time listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. On this podcast, we talk about faith, family, and finances, among other things. If you are a return listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us again. Hopefully, we are adding value to your lives on the way to the M's because we are 1000% on the way to the M's. And you may say, Che, what exactly are the M's? Millions, millions of dollars, millions in assets. How are we going to get there? I'm glad you asked. We are going to lower our expenses and we are going to invest money. The more assets you have, the more likely you will be a millionaire if that's what you want to be. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We have a community that is giving out strategies on how to get to the M's. And we have this free information as well that you are getting on a weekly basis on how to get to the M's. And that's exactly what we're doing. So, speaking of that, one thing that I don't talk about a lot is credit. Reason I don't talk about a lot regarding credit is because I am of the mindset I like to pay cash for things. Now, I was not always like that, but I realized that paying cash for things um, allows you to pay less over time. What do I mean by that? Meaning that if you just allow yourself to save up for different things that you're purchasing, whether it be a car or an investment property or anything that you would otherwise go to a bank and borrow money for, if you're patient enough to save up the money, then you can save money over time because with loans and credit, they involve interest rates. Interest rates basically is something that you're paying on top of the principal for whoever you are borrowing the money from. And let's just say your interest rate's at 10% of whatever the loan is, and the principal amount is $100. 10% of that is $10. So that means you're going to be paying $10 on top of the principal payment for that loan until the loan is taken care of. Now, if you don't pay the loan back, then the interest will continue to compound. What does that mean to you as the borrower? That means that you're going to have to pay more money back to the bank or whoever you borrowed the money from, and it's going to make them richer and you broker. And we are trying to, on this podcast, convey the message that you don't always have to borrow money. If you're patient, you can save the money up on your own and then purchase the thing. Ask me how I know. My wife and I, we purchase cars. investment properties, home projects, different things that you would otherwise either go to a bank or swipe with a credit card and pay for. And we have saved ourselves thousands of dollars in interest payments. Now, if you are not of that mindset, that is completely fine. But I think in your wealth building journey, credit is a big component of you either being well off or broke. Why do I say that? This conversation reminds me of when I was in college because that was my first introduction to credit cards. And before I start, I want to say I want to give a shout out to Mr. T. If you went to Cheney University, you know exactly who Mr. T is. Donzel Tiller, he's the GOAT. I will never forget this. When we came into freshman orientation, he said to us, guys, listen, you're going to get so many different offers to get credit cards. Do not do it. And the reason he was telling us that because a lot of us did not have jobs. So we get the credit cards, they prey on younger people. We swipe the credit cards, we don't have a way to pay the credit cards back. And then we rack up a pile of debt. And then when we get out of school, we have student loans that we have to pay back, plus whatever we owed the credit card company. So we're burying ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper in a hole. So I think back to that time and I was of that mindset because I'm thinking, okay, well, he knows more than I do. So I'm going to listen to him. So if I don't have cash to pay for things, I'm not going to get a credit card. And I ended up not getting a credit card till I got out of school. But that's another conversation for another day. But I did have friends who did not get the same wise counsel. And I remember them saying, "Hey, well, we're going to the mall. Cool, let's go." And swiping credit cards, buying stuff, swiping credit cards, buying stuff. And I checked back with them years later, and I'm like, "Yo, man, you still, using a credit card?" He's like, "Man, nah, that credit card ate me up." Pause. Because they did not have a plan on how to pay the credit card back, and I think that's where we get into trouble. Also, where your credit can be messed up is we were not necessarily taught about money, and I think it's still going on to this day. A lot of people's parents are not telling them about money. So then when they get credit cards or they get loans for cars and things of that nature without necessarily a way to pay it back, then uh it can eventually jack your credit up. And I know one person in particular, he's going to remain nameless. I remember he was of the mindset of, I'm going to get as many loans as I can. I have no intentions on paying it back. And again, we were young, we were in school, we were in college, and he would get car loans and things of that nature. And then eventually it wrecked his credit. What's going on, family? My name is Che Willis, the medicine to your financial headache, and I help families living paycheck to paycheck live the life that they want to live through financial planning and wealth management. Did you know that the number one cause for divorce is money fights and money problems? If you are struggling financially with your spouse, you have come to the right place. We have an online course, we have a community, and we have one on one coaching that can help you live your best financial life and cut down on a lot of the money fights that you and your spouse are currently having. So if you are struggling, please make sure that you go to wealthisajourney.com to fix the issues that you guys are having currently surrounding money. A lot of us were never taught, and that's okay. But if you know that you need help, do not stay stuck. It's time to start living your best financial life with your spouse starting today. So go to wealthisajourney.com so we can start living your best financial life starting today. Let's go. So what does that mean? What exactly is credit for those who don't know? And I'm talking in this podcast specifically to a younger person because I got the information and I took heed to the information. So hopefully the younger person who's listening to this episode who does not know about credit will take heed and act accordingly. So, what is credit? In layman's terms, without getting into all getting into the actual weeds of it, is you go to somebody for a loan. You tell them, hey, this the loan is for say 5 years or whatever the case may be. I'm going to borrow this amount of money from you. I'm going to pay you back this amount of money with interest, and I'm going to pay you back on time. So you, as the borrower, get the loan, you get the money, you buy the thing that you're going to buy, and then you start making payments every month. You pay on time. That's a good thing. So once you start paying on time, that institution will then, whether it be a bank or a car dealership or whatever the case may be, will then let other people know that, hey, this person is trustworthy with money. So then if you don't have credit, you may not be able to borrow a lot of money. So you have to start where you are. So some people like me, I started off with a $500 credit card. I swiped the credit card, I paid the credit card back on time, sometimes early. But that helped build my credit up. What does that mean for somebody who has built up credit? That means that if you borrow money in the future, you borrow money at a lower interest rate. What does that mean to you? That means any lower interest rate that you get for borrowing money, you pay less back on the loan than the person who is bad and does not have a plan on how to pay the interest rate back. The opposite side of that story that I just told is you get a loan from a bank, whatever the loan is. You say, I'm going to pay you back this amount per month with interest. You start paying off on time, and then life starts lifing. Whatever happens, you don't have a plan on paying the money back. And then in month 2 or 3, you're slow to pay. That institution will then let other institutions know, hey, you may not want to let this person borrow money. Or if you do, you charge them a little bit more money. Why? Because you are a risk. You are a higher risk. So if I'm an institution and I have somebody who has a good track record of paying things back and on time, then I'm going to be more likely to let you borrow my money. So uh the interest rate on the loan is going to be lower, but I'm guaranteed based on your track record that I'm going to get my money back. And that's all I want as an institution. Now, if I'm an institution, I see that you don't have a good track record of paying back, I'm then going to charge you a higher interest rate. Why? Because you are a risk and I may not get my money back on time or at all. So I'm going to charge you a premium to borrow money from me. So, again, what does all this mean? On this podcast, we talk about telling your money where to go, AKA the budget, because before we even take on a loan and we have all of our expenses lined up and lined out, we need to have a plan on how to pay the money back. Why? Because if you borrow money in the future, then you'll be borrowing money at a lower interest rate because your credit is high because of the track record of you paying people back before. So you may be a college student or you may be a younger person. You're like, oh, well, it's fine. What we need to do, it's not fine, first of all, because what we need to do is we need to be able to set ourselves up for the future. How do we do that? We do that by making good decisions now. And the good decisions that we make now will cost us less money in the future. Meaning that because we don't like to take loans out, we save our money up, we put the money in the budget to buy the thing that we want to buy because we're making good decisions. And I'm not saying getting a loan is a bad decision, but we make good decisions by being patient and saving for the thing So therefore, we're going to save ourselves money in the future. So we need to set it in our budget when we're telling our money where to go. And once we have our budget set, then we'll know exactly how much money we have left over to tell us if we can afford the thing in the first place once we find out from the bank how much the payment is going to be for the thing that we are trying to buy. And if we can't afford it, I don't care if the bank tries to say, okay, well, we'll stretch the payments out. Please don't do it, because if you're on a tighter budget and you don't have an emergency fund, which a lot of people do not have, then when bad things happen, which they probably will, then you're going to swipe a credit card as opposed to using emergency fund money, which you don't have because your budget is tight. Then you just purchase this thing that you may not have needed and made your budget even tighter. So then that's going to potentially, if you don't have money, and an emergency happens, you're swiping credit cards. Then you're trying to figure out a way now to pay that credit card back that you use, as well as whatever loan you just took out for the thing that you just bought. See how that works? So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get the person who did not learn about money, and that's okay, to understand that the decisions that you make now are going to come back to bite you in the future. So we got to make better decisions. So if you know that you can't afford something based on the way your finances are currently constructed, it's okay. Don't buy it. Or you can buy a cheaper version of the thing until you are able to buy the more expensive thing. But credit is going to make or break you on your wealth building journey, because if your credit is low, that means that there is some type of track record of you not paying things back. Or I don't know, I'm thinking about this. It could be something where your parents put something in your name, and if you did that, stop it. Because I remember like some of my friends or whatever, we are over here sitting back talking about how much broker we were than the other friend when we were younger, trauma bonding, and talking about oh well, my mom put this in my name, and my mom did not do that. I'm not talking about mine, but my mom put this thing in my name, or put the phone bill in the cat's name, or whatever the case may be, and that jacked their credit up before they even got out into the world to make money. So now they owe people money that they had nothing to do with because their parent made a bad decision because they needed cable. So if you did that or you're doing that currently, stop it. You are ruining your kids' lives and you don't even know it, because maybe your parent did it to you. But if your parent did it to you and they messed your credit up and you know how it feels, shame on you for doing that to your kid. Just thought I needed to say that. But like I said, man, we're trying to make good decisions, and understanding how the budget for one gives you a plan on how to pay the thing back. And if you are able to pay things back on time, then that will by default raise your credit score. So then when you do borrow money, then you'll be borrowing it at a cheaper cost. And let's just say, hey, I don't plan on buying a house. I don't plan on buying a car, or whatever the case may be. You still want to make sure that you're paying people back on time, because things change, people change. You may get married one day and your spouse may be like, okay, well, I want a house. Even though you don't, you may end up getting a house anyway, but you want to be able to set yourselves up for success. Meaning that if I would much rather, if I did have a mortgage, I would much rather pay 6% than 9% because I didn't pay people back, many years ago. So we have to set ourselves up, and the decisions that we make now are going to affect us for the rest of our lives, good or bad. So make good decisions. Save yourself some money, save yourself some time, save yourself some headache. Because credit, even though again, I'm not necessarily on that train right now as far as credit goes, but I understand how important it is, especially for entrepreneurs. Like having the wherewithal to make sure that you pay things back on time is going to boost your personal credit, but then those behaviors are going to carry over to when you become an entrepreneur if that's what you want to do. Paying people back on time is going to boost your business credit. And if you have bad business credit, then it's going to take away from your profits. If you have bad business credit, because you're going to be paying more interest. If you're paying more interest, it's taken away from your profits. And if it's taken away from your profits, it's taking away your ability to scale because we're not in business just to stay where we are. So all of this works together. So let's make good decisions. If you don't know what your credit score is, um, then you can find out there's multiple credit places that you can get your credit score run. I have a credit card where they tell me what my credit score is if I wanted to know. So if you do know that you owe money to people, make sure that you pay them back. Institutions, family members, whatever the case may be, pay them back because it will limit your ability to build wealth if you're paying high interest rates for credit cards and different loans that you currently have. So that's the episode, man. We are trying to make ourselves more money and give less money to the bank. So if you have the ability not to get a loan at all, then pay cash for it if you can, because that is going to allow you and free you up to be able to be able to do more without having to pay people back. So if you have the patience and you can do it, do it. Pay cash, please. But if you don't, that's fine too. Put it in your budget every month to pay the people back that you need to pay. Boost your credit score so you can pay less money for the things that you're borrowing money for. And that's the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wealth is a journey. We will see you next week. Peace.